Hello, and welcome to Half the Year in Hell, the podcast for the ones who are made to carry what wasn't theirs. This is a place where we speak from the underworld and help you make your way on out.
This podcast is for educational purposes only. It is not a substitute for therapy. We are licensed therapists, but we are not your therapist. This podcast is for education and liberation, not diagnosis or treatment. Some episodes contain strong language and content related to trauma. Viewer discretion is advised.
Hello, y'all. Welcome to this week's episode. Sorry for the delay. As you can see, this is summertime, and the ADHD and all the other things be ADHD. As you, I actually don't even know what this episode is about. But anyway, my bad, y'all. Enjoy. Hello, and welcome to our podcast, Half the Year in the Hell. I'm Aunge.
I'm Sasha.
And this is our weekly, I don't know what the frequency is. This is our podcast about being a scapegoat. So today we thought we would focus on what does it take to leave without looking back. So to start off this topic, we thought that we would start with a story that you may be familiar with, and Sasha's going to take it away.
Yeah, so I thought that what would fit here was a story about Lot's wife and the pillar of salt. And this is a story from the Bible for those of you who are not familiar with it. It's a story about looking back. Long ago, the city of Sodom had fallen into cruelty, greed, and corruption. Lot, his wife, and their 2 daughters lived there, but they were not of that place. They had built their home inside a city whose ways were not their own. One night, messengers came to Lot and said, "Take your family and leave. Do not stop, do not look back. For this city will be destroyed, and what once seemed like home will be no more." So at dawn, Lot gathered his wife and daughters. They left the city as the first light rose, the air thick with the scent of smoke. Behind them, the world they knew, its streets, its walls, the people they once shared bread with, was falling into ash. The messengers had told them, "Do not look back," not because the past was unworthy of mourning, but because turning toward it would trap them there, freeze them in a moment that could never be changed. Lot's wife walked behind him, the weight of her memories heavy in her chest. Her friends, her home, her kitchen, her routines, even the way the light used to fall on the stones in the morning, all of it pulled on her like a hand on her shoulder. She turned her head just for a glance. And in that moment, she became a pillar of salt, frozen where she stood, never able to walk forward into the new life. So that's the story of Lot's wife and the pillar of salt. And I just thought it would be very applicable to talking about scapegoats and what happens to scapegoats when they're leaving a narcissistic system. And again, I just thought maybe this would be a good time for us to talk again about what scapegoats are.
Mm-hmm.
A scapegoat is a person that's in a system. This can be a family system, but it doesn't have to be a family system. It can be a work system, right? It can be like in your employment. It can be in your school system. It can be in a friend group. It can be a entire country. It can be a town. It's a behavior that shows up in groups of people. And so what will happen is a group of people will decide that they are not, or maybe it's not necessarily conscious, but a group of people will adopt a practice of no longer taking responsibility for the things that they've done, or for meeting maybe sometimes even their own needs. And they will go ahead and have a system where they will project everything that is wrong with the system so the system can remain perfect. It's a technique that protects the system and allows it to stay pristine and not take responsibility or even have to change. So what will happen is that people will pin everything on this one person, and that person becomes the thing that's wrong with the family or group. So that's it. Go ahead.
I'm going to be a Virgo just real quick and fix your microphone. Sorry. Don't want it to bump up against your shirt and have the
Okay.
background noise.
Okay.
Yeah. So one of the things that we wanted to talk about is sort of the experience that scapegoats have when they leave the system. And I think also why it makes it so difficult to leave the system.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that the first thing that comes up to me is the word betrayal.
Yeah.
And like, what does it mean to be in the system where everything is about protecting whatever it is, whether it's like the lead person, the narcissist, whether it's the work that we're doing, like whatever, like kind of like is the core, where when you start asking questions about it, or when you start being like, this doesn't make a lot of sense, like kind of like what is that pull that draws you back into it?
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about how many systems I've left.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm thinking about how many systems I've helped other people leave or encouraged other people to leave. And I'm thinking about the speed bumps that come up when we start talking about, okay, it's time for you to go. It's time for you to get out.
Mm-hmm.
You know, sometimes this can mean leaving an abusive marriage. But also sometimes it can, just like I said, it can be leaving a job, you know.
Mm-hmm.
I think about also like sometimes not even just a job, right? I'm thinking about leaving a career, because as a person who's had a lot of different helping jobs,
Mm-hmm.
I think about how educators and social service people are often the scapegoats in a society, especially when you're talking about in some place, if you're living someplace that's adopting a very conservative fiscal
Mm-hmm.
standpoint, and it's a place where maybe like everybody isn't getting their needs met.
Mm-hmm.
And so you know, you can easily make it the responsibility. Like I think it happens in education so much.
Yeah.
And then even within education, it happens within like teachers who are teaching certain areas and certain subjects can often become the scapegoats if they're teaching the most vulnerable populations.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I wonder if you can think of other times when maybe like other instances that this comes up in.
Well, you were talking about work, and what came up for me is I come from the nonprofit world.
Uh-huh.
Like, I think all of my jobs have been in nonprofit. And there is a certain attitude that comes about being a savior, a specific type of savior that
Yeah.
I won't specifically mention here. But it becomes about becoming a savior. And when you're looking around and you're seeing all these people being like, well, we're better than everyone because we're helping,
Mm-hmm.
but it's supposed to be humble.
Uh-huh.
What ends up happening is they're causing a lot of harm to the people in the system.
Uh-huh.
And when you're in the scapegoat role and you're like, hey, something about this doesn't feel right, literally everyone jumps on you and they're like, well, you're weak. You should be in this line of work. Maybe you should quit because it takes a special kind of person to be here. Like, there's all these different things that come with it. I think another thing that comes up for me is being the scapegoat in a friend group, which is something
Yes.
that I am very familiar with.
Yes.
What ends up happening is they kind of like keep you on the fringes of the group at all times.
Mm-hmm.
So you're trying to do all these things to like show up as a good friend. You want to be included. You want people to um, think of you like as a decent person when you're in the system.
Mm-hmm.
And what they'll do is they'll keep you like kind of on the edge. They won't allow you to be intimate with anybody in the group. If you have a specific way that you show up, someone else might take your role and say, hey, this is actually mine now. This is not your quality. Like, there's a bunch of different things that happen. And it gets really confusing because the longer that you're in whatever system it is, the less you are yourself.
Yeah.
They're like chipping out little pieces.
Uh-huh.
And when it comes to like figuring out how to leave, one, you've been told that you're a bad person for setting boundaries or for saying, hey, this doesn't look right. And two, they've stolen so much of your personality or like not giving you credit for the things or the ways in which you show up that you just feel like you're not contributing a whole lot, and it makes it confusing about whether or not you should do something different or if you're a bad person for like exiting the system.
Yeah. I think like it's easy to just say, hey, you should just walk away.
Mm-hmm.
You know, but it's harder to do it. And I think the other thing that happens is even if it's a friend group, there is like an emotional attachment. When I'm hearing you talking about like leaving a job when you were working in nonprofit, right? There's an emotional attachment to the work. There's emotional attachment to the people that you're helping. I think that there's this emotional attachment is one of the main things that keeps people from leaving
Mm-hmm.
a system. You know, usually when people come in to work on something like this, and I'm like, okay, everything around you is on fire, it's time for you to leave. The thing that happens is they're like, wait, well, what about this person? Or what about this thing? Or what about that? You know, the people get so emotionally attached, which is a very human thing to do. It's
Mm-hmm.
not a problem, but it can make it really difficult to go ahead and leave.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the other thing is that when you're talking about the taking away,
Mm-hmm.
and taking away who you are,
Mm-hmm.
and the invalidation, and the just yeah, the invalidation, right? The invalidation of everything you feel, everything you think. It can get you really. This is a big one. This is
Mm-hmm.
a big one. If you have an example, it would be great. But if not, it's okay. Like it's this one is a big one. It's the hope that you will be understood. And you actually, I think you do a really good job with
Mm-hmm.
this. That's why I'm asking you if you can think of an example,
Oh.
because I think you do a really good job of not hoping for people who can't understand you to understand you.
Uh-huh.
I don't know whether it's the Virgo-ness of it all
Mm-hmm.
or what, but you just have this really grounded thing. I am the person that I'm always like, I have a really huge thing. And I think a lot of people that I work with have a really huge thing around, I just want you to understand me. I just want you to see me. I just want you to know who I am. And so it will keep you in the system because you'll keep on trying to seek the validation of the people that harmed you, and that validation is not ever going to come.
Mm-hmm.
The people who harmed you are never going to validate you, and that's what I think I want people to know is like you can, because this comes up so much. If you are looking to leave some kind of a system, please do not stay in this addiction. I think the Buddhists would call it a samsara. Um, and it's like I hope I use that in the correct context, but it's like you stay in the cycle, in the drama of it all, because you are constantly you're playing into the cycle because it is hard for you to accept that you're not going to be understood. And it makes sense because when you're in those systems, you've been so invalidated
Mm-hmm.
that when you've been kind of like just erased,
Mm-hmm.
and everything has been drained from you, and people have sat here and told you what a terrible person you are
Mm-hmm.
and told you that you didn't make sense. I know that it has certainly kept me in relationships that were unhealthy. Is like maybe if and this is all kinds of relationships, not just partner relationships and friendships. Maybe if I just explain it to them in this different way, maybe if I just give them this book, maybe if I just write it down in this way, I'm such a good, you know, a lot of the people I work with are communicators. Actually, that's what's coming up for me right now. It's not only that I work with a lot of people that are helpers, I work with a lot of people that work in communications, and the people that come
Mm-hmm.
in that work with working communications, they are really people who get stuck in this part of like, I just want to make sure I'm understood. You know, I think that it's kind of a beautiful thing, and it's a sort of alchemy that they end up working in communications when they've had these early experiences often.
Mm-hmm.
I noticed that a lot of the people that I work with that are communicators, writers, and things like this, or just communication professionals, they will they have learned because they've had to over explain themselves. You know, I know that there's a lot of things most people know. I think most people know that like therapists and other helpers are trying to give people what they didn't get, or trying to meet a childhood wound. But I think one that is overlooked often
Mm.
is people who are communicators.
That makes
And
sense.
what has happened is they have had to try to explain themselves so many times in order for them to be understood and get validation,
Mm-hmm.
that what happens is they will learn to become this very precise, clear, and direct communicator, because they're thinking, oh no, the problem is not that this person is a jerk
Mm-hmm.
or this system doesn't give a crap about me.
Mm-hmm.
The problem is that I just need to communicate. They either don't understand or I'm terrible at communicating my needs, because a lot of times that's the gaslight. What do you mean? I don't understand, right? So they'll get to this place where they get really specific about communicating what they need
Mm-hmm.
in order for them to be able to just have themselves be heard, and they'll stay and stay and stay, and it's like, no, you can't continue to stay.
Mm-hmm.
You know.
Mm-hmm. No, the question that you asked about like what is it that makes me more efficient? One, like so Virgo is I think led by Mercury, and Mercury is like communication.
Uh-huh.
So I don't know if that has anything to
Oh,
do
that
with it.
makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
So I think one, I had to get back in my body. I set a really firm boundary this morning, and I dissociated for a big part of the day. So I'm just now getting back into myself. I think that for me, I'm really into pattern recognition.
Uh-huh.
When I see stuff and I pick it up, it's just kind of like, oh, okay, so there's like there's a flow to this. There's something that happens, and it happens over and over and over again, because as humans we like to do something called repetition compulsion. So in my earliest system, having this experience of being scapegoated, or whatever system I'm leaving having this experience being scapegoated, what ends up happening is I have recognized this thing where there's no point in me explaining myself.
Yeah, you're so good at accepting it. You're like, you'll be like, nope, nope, they're not going to hear you. Just go, just get out.
Well, that's what it is, right? So like you've had it happen 5 or 6 times when you left the system as a scapegoat, and it's like by the seventh time, like if you're like, oh, I can't see that this is what's about to happen again, it's just like, okay, you're having a lot of hope, and you're trying to hold on to it,
Uh-huh.
but like I'm a Wednesday Adams at heart, so like my
Uh-huh.
hope kind of like it's there, but then it's like I'm just gonna shrivel up and like go on somewhere.
Uh-huh.
So it's just one of those things
Hey,
where
eating Grand Four. Uh-huh.
so it's one of those things where you just kind of get to the point where like you're seeing the same patterns, you're seeing yourself engage in the patterns in the same time, and like the pattern that I'm engaging in, instead of me playing it all the way out, gets shorter and shorter.
Uh-huh.
And I've just finally got to the point where I'm like, oh, I'm recognizing that you're not showing up appropriately, and you might not be a good person. Let me go ahead and cut you off before we even get to this point.
Uh-huh. Uh-huh.
And it's not this thing where it's about having a lack of empathy for people. It's not a thing where it's like you didn't give someone a chance. It's just like you've just seen it so many times, and like there's only so many personalities that people have.
Yeah, but I think that's such a great way of you being grounded and strong in yourself, because I think what people often ask me is like, what if it's me? Because they've had these experiences of being gaslit. And I think that's why we're here, to try to
Mm,
talk to you all, the scapegoats, because people, I think when they've had this experience of being gaslit, they still keep on going, well, what if it was me?
mm-hmm,
And then I also think, though, the reason why people are sometimes, this is a tough one for me to explain. I hope I don't go too far off. I think sometimes the question, what if it was actually me,
mm-hmm,
is coming from a place, there's a part, right? If we're talking about internal family systems, and a part,
mm-hmm,
there's a part of you that wants to believe that it's you,
mm-hmm,
because it keeps you connected to other people, right? So when you've been in this system, right? And now I'm thinking about the other thing that keeps people in the system is the fear of being alone. Come on, Al Green. I'm so tired of being alone.
I
You
just
know
left my
what I
body. I'm sorry. Go ahead. Yeah. Yeah.
mean? And so I'm thinking about like the fact that you'll have this part that will actually try to confuse you, and it'll be like, no, the problem is you,
Mm-hmm.
because you've been experiencing the ironic thing. Maybe it's not ironic, maybe that's an overuse of the word again, but it's like, you don't want to leave the system because you don't want to be alone, but also if you are in the system, you're actually alone anyway, because no one is hearing you. You're in there, but you're in there serving a very specific purpose of not being connected. It serves the system to
Mm-hmm.
not hear or understand you. And I think that that's what I want people to know here at this part of it, is like,
Mm-hmm.
the system is served by not understanding you. The system is served because the system doesn't have to change. It
Mm-hmm.
has to, it's going to seek homeostasis.
Mm-hmm.
So if you're not understood, and you're gaslit, and you're also continuing to be the scapegoat, right? Because what happens if the system understands you, if the partner understands you, if the boss and coworkers understand you, if the government understands you, if the friend group understands you,
Mm-hmm.
then you if they understand you and you become an autonomous person, well, what, we don't now have a scapegoat anymore. And if we don't have a scapegoat, then that means that we have to actually start making some internal changes, and that's not what the system is set up for. The system is set up for homeostasis.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll develop this part as part of being a scapegoat that will say, what if it's me? And that part was there to protect you from being alone. And it is such a powerful cognitive distortion. When I sit with people, I have numerous people that I've sat with, and I've experienced it myself, where like I just needed somebody to sit with me and really keep on proving to me over and over again
Mm-hmm.
that it wasn't me. And there's no amount of evidence that's ever going to make you sure. This is part of why you have to understand, I think, how systems work.
Mm-hmm.
And you have to identify yourself as being a scapegoat, because otherwise you'll keep on gaslighting yourself and you'll continue to stay and stay and stay. So that's that. That's sorry, that was a whole thing.
You know, this is the messed up part about, I mean, it's all messed up, right? The scapegoat role is about being abused.
Uh-huh.
The part that makes it really not great is the only way that you can get enough evidence that it's not you is actually leaving the system.
Yeah, that's what's wild about it. You have to have a different experience. You have to have a different experience of connecting with people that lets you know that, hey, it's not you.
Mm-hmm.
Because once you leave, it's like, oh, everyone's not interacting with me like this.
Mm-hmm.
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 Everyone's not interacting with me like this. I can go to the north and like maybe there's still some things happening in that system, but like it's not as jarring as it was in the system that I was in before.
Uh-huh.
And I think that once I have space to not have to take care of everybody, once I have space to not be the person that's centered in all the abuse, once I have space to actually figure out who I am and get back to my personality, I'm starting to have flashbacks and I'm starting to have some PTSD symptoms because like the flashbacks are coming back, and like before I've been able to either kind of like push them down and like
Mm-hmm.
pretend like they don't exist even though they keep popping up over and over again, or I like make meaning of it that's not what actually happened.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that I got slapped in the face with a fish. I don't know how many times we mentioned that, but it's one of my favorites. It's the fact that I thought that my cousin slipped and the fish just hit me really hard.
Uh-huh.
And it's just like, no, he like wound up his fist like this and went wapa like
Yeah.
really hard. And it's just like you start to piece these things together.
It was a
You
trout.
start-
It was a trout that time.
It was a trout this
Uh-huh.
time. It was a trout. Trout is delicious. Shout out to the trout.
Trout. Uh-huh.
Trouts. Anyway, like he wound up his fist, and like now you're having this flashback, and you're starting to understand, like, oh no, he meant me harm when he did that. And when I went to my mom or I went to my aunt and I was like, hey, so and so hit me in the face with the fish, she's now gaslighting me and she's telling me, well, he didn't mean it, da 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 da. And like everyone is giving this person excuses as to why it didn't happen. So like you just get really confused and really wrapped up into some chaos where you can't really parse out what the actual scenario was.
Well, yeah, because this is what happens. Part of being a scapegoat is losing your sense of self.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm saying this, we've been thinking about this and talking about this. You know, sometimes this happens to people.
Mm-mm.
Some people are a scapegoat from birth, but sometimes people have not been a scapegoat from birth. Sometimes people have had actually experiences of being connected to themselves and feeling secure and attached, but because of the way society is set up. So I just want to be really clear that yes, sometimes it can be about your family, but I think a lot of times people get tripped up because they don't understand that maybe their entire family is scapegoats to their neighborhood or their community or to their state or to their government, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because maybe you're a person who's listening to this and you're thinking, but hey, my family loves me. They actually love me, and I'm actually the golden child within my own personal family system, right? But the problem is you can also still be a scapegoat because you're a scapegoat to the fact that your society has decided, or your job has decided, maybe just because of the job you have, has decided that, hey, you are going to have to be the one that's responsible for everything, right? Let me be specific here and be clear, right? I'm talking about how Black people have been scapegoated. I'm thinking about how we have done this with other groups. Like I'm thinking about how Japanese people were scapegoated during the war,
Mm-hmm.
right? Everything was pinned on Japanese people. They were scapegoated and put in camps. I'm thinking about how indigenous people have been scapegoated. I'm thinking about how currently Latinos are being scapegoated in our society. I hope y'all can hear us. We got a lot of things going on in the background.
Okay,
We'll have to do a sound check, but this is going so good, I don't want to stop. So I'm just keeping on going. I've definitely survived a lot of chaos because I can just keep on going no matter what's happening.
Mhm.
So I'm thinking about how people will just.
Okay, buddy.
Sorry, we got off track, y'all. Thank you.
Hey,
Thank
okay.
you.
I'm gonna hold you like Simba. You're okay. You're okay. Percy.
Percy's trying to protect
Percy,
everybody.
Percy, it's okay. It's okay.
Percy said nobody's gonna be a scapegoat over here today.
Storm is here also. You can't see it. She's off camera. Go ahead.
Okay. So yeah, I'm thinking about how sometimes groups of people can become scapegoats and how often the fear of being alone
Mhm.
and you can be an individual scapegoat will keep you in the scapegoat role.
Mhm. Mhm.
So I'm going to just say briefly before we move on to the next thing. What are the things that this can show up like? Checking social media
Mhm.
over and over again,
Mhm.
checking the person's social media over and over again. How are they doing? Arguing with the person back and forth. They will
Mhm.
keep on arguing and reaching for reassurance. This is important, y'all. I hope we didn't get everybody off track with what was going. We may, if we've cut this out, you'll know, right?
Mhm.
So we may have to cut some of this out. So we are saying that people will check social media, they'll argue, they'll keep on reaching for reassurance.
Mhm.
And the arguing is a big one. I'm going to talk about this for a minute and then I'm going to let Ange go back. I just know that they got thrown off by what just happened.
Look, my ADHD was like, huh? What's
Uh-huh.
happening? Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Yep, okay.
So when I'm thinking about the arguing, this
Mhm.
is a huge one. This is a huge one. I will work with people and I will tell them you are in an abusive relationship and they have at this point so trauma bonded
Mhm.
with the person who is the narcissist
Mhm.
that they don't believe me. And they're like, but I just want the person. And so they will keep on going back in and they will keep on arguing with the person. And I will tell them the arguing is what's keeping you stuck. And it's actually not only keeping you stuck in the system, it's actually keeping you from feeling a connection to yourself because you're going external, because the process of people gaslighting you and arguing with you and demoralizing you and using your labor and not giving you credit for it and taking your qualities and not giving you credit for it. That experience is one that creates a separation from the self.
Mhm.
And when you have the separation from the self, it becomes, look at Percy. Don't be separated from yourself.
It's okay to get
It's
back in your
cool.
body.
It's all right. Get back in your body, Percy. Look, he's still fighting it.
Uh-huh.
When you have had this experience of being separated from the self,
Mhm.
you are feeling really vulnerable
Mhm.
and you are feeling so depressed and you go through this really dark period. You go through a death. And people are usually, when they come into therapy and they keep on arguing with the system and they keep on reaching for reassurance, they will just, it's taking me out. Percy is taking me out.
Yeah, it's really funny because when we record, a lot of people like to come out and honk their horns and do a lot of things. So
Uh-huh.
it's okay.
Uh-huh.
It's okay. We are outside. That's fair.
And so what happens is they will that you will be left kind of like in this place where you're kind of in an obsessive state
Mhm.
and you're asking everybody how the person doing, what they doing, where they doing it at, and you want to know if they're doing well and you're looking for proof. And so you kind of got to just step away and stop doing the behavior, stop arguing, stop checking social media, stop looking for reassurance. I'm gonna let Ange talk a little bit now. I'm gonna take Percy for a minute from Ange, and I'm gonna let Ange talk about why scapegoats look back.
Oh, well, I actually don't have an answer for that.
All right, all right.
Let's see. Why does Scape look? We have a whiteboard back here, and that's what we keep looking at. So it's a little cheat sheet. So it says need for closure, trauma bond, and guilt and conditioning. Okay. So yes, need for closure. Let's get into it, and I'm gonna stall a little bit until I gather my thoughts because that's usually what I do when I give these
I'll
messages.
support you. I'll support you here. I'm actually thinking about something that's funny. You know, this is an
Oh.
educational podcast, but also I want to keep it a buck. So what just happened right now, I'm not sure whether we're going to cut it out, but what just happened right now is people started walking by and Percy started going crazy and I kept talking. And this is something that I do a lot.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know, when I was using the examples of when people don't leave things, it's because I was a scapegoat by being an educator.
Mm-hmm.
And I worked for one while as an educator working with kids with autism. And I'm
Mm-hmm.
autistic as a teacher, right?
Mm-hmm.
And I work with kids with communication and behavior issues. And so one of the things that you do, and this is actually applicable to what we're talking about here. So one of the things you do when you're having communication and behavior issues is I would tell teacher, use planned ignoring. Actually, no matter what's happening, you keep teaching.
Mm-hmm.
Because if you keep on giving attention to what's happening, and you keep on reinforcing it, then the kid is getting what they need and what they want, rather, not what they need, what they
Attention
want, which
seeking.
is your attention, right?
Mm-hmm.
So if it's an attention seeking behavior, the thing you got to do is keep going. So people would come in my classroom and they would be amazed because kids would be doing all kinds of behaviors. They would be making noise. And I'd be like, what's the objective? So that just kicked in there. That training just kicked in there. And I was like, what's the objective? The objective is to tell people how to get out. And so that's what I was trying to do. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think the need for closure, kind of going back to like why scapegoats look back, is something that really impacts people very heavily when they're leaving their system. And it's one of those things where for me it was trying to find answers and trying to understand like what's happening,
Uh-huh.
what's going on in the system, what's going on where I'm not able to fit into the system, what's going on where I'm not able to get along with people in the system, what's going on where no matter what I do or how I show up, I'm always doing something wrong. And is it indicative of the fact that I'm isolated because I am having a hard time meeting other people? Is it indicative of some other flaw that I've got going on? Like I'm doing this internal locus of control where I'm trying to figure out what does it look like for me to take responsibility for all this stuff?
Yeah, it's the guilt. You're talking about the guilt right now. You're talking about the
Yeah.
guilt and the conditioning
Yeah.
that comes with being a scapegoat. People are making you feel so guilty, like you're supposed to do everything to take care of everybody else.
Mm-hmm.
And that's your role and that's what you're supposed to do, right? Because again, being a scapegoat is not just about people blaming you for everything.
Mm-hmm.
It's also about you having to be responsible. And I think Zamir talked about this and asked us about this. Is like, can you make sure that you talk about it? And I think we haven't been talking about it enough. Is like part of being the scapegoat is not only the fact that you are supposed to be blamed for everything and you're the fucked up person in the system. It's also about the fact that you are the person who has to do everything.
Mm-hmm.
You are supposed to take care of everything. This is why mothers are often scapegoats, and actually it's part of the step parenting role to be a scapegoat. Is that you are supposed to take care of everything. And how do they keep you doing what you're supposed to be doing? Is the guilt tripping,
Mm-hmm.
the conditioning,
Mm-hmm.
right? And yes, trauma bonds, I mentioned trauma bonds earlier. Trauma bonds are a huge part of this, but it's the guilt and the conditioning. Well, what's going to happen to so and so if you leave? And like when I've left these systems, I cannot tell you how many times so and so people are like, so and so misses you. It's not been the same since you were gone. Or also, people will tell you, that you abandon other people when all you were trying to do was go ahead and take care of yourself. How you gonna abandon grown adults?
How you gonna abandon 38-year-old? The man's got an AARP card. He's got 5 children.
Yeah. That the people will sit there and make it like you abandon them because and I think that this happens with people of color so much.
Yeah.
So I think that's that about why scapegoats are looking back.
Yeah. Sorry, y'all. That threw me really far off.
Woo, that was a lot, but here we are.
Here we are. The
Here
plan
we are.
ignoring works for some people. It
Uh-huh.
apparently does not work for me. I said
Uh-huh.
that anger. Ah. So the next thing that we wanted to talk about is what happens when you look back, and how does it keep you like stuck, or how does it keep you frozen and drain your energy out?
I mean, this is why I loved that story, right? When we were talking about setting this as the podcast episode, right? Because I'm telling you right now, one of my things is I do have a tendency to look back. I'm not a person that's necessarily an obsessive social media checker,
No.
but I do check in on the people who I was worried about. And I'm usually easy to have my heartstrings pulled, right?
Yeah.
And so I think that this is something that I've been working on because I'm really in a place of life where I'm trying to grow. And I think that I went through a real type of stage where I was in transition from leaving a lot of systems, but I still wasn't thriving. And so that's why the idea, when you said that we were going to talk about this, the idea immediately came to me like the pillar of salt. Because it is, you get in freeze.
Yeah.
You really do get in freeze, and it really does tend to continue to drain your energy as you're plagued with these feelings of guilt and shame for because there's always going to be also people who are in the system that are fragile. And the thing is, people who are scapegoating you, like, they also do have problems, right? Like, I can't tell you how many times I have left a system and something bad has happened. The person who was abusing me got sick, or something bad happened, maybe the job. I'm thinking about you when you left the job. The job just, everything fell apart. Everyone leaves, right? Because a lot of times when the scapegoat leaves, everybody else leaves.
Or at the very least, they disconnect and pretend like they like each other.
Uh-huh.
Yeah.
Yeah. And so I think, looking back really will keep you frozen.
I think it keeps you frozen. And I think about the amount of times that I've left someone behind in the system, and I've been like, oh, here's this person that is kind of like defenseless in the system or whatever it is. And usually, once I've processed through all of it, the conclusion that I reach is that because they're a part of the system, they're probably going to be a part of the system and become like the system. And there's only so much you can do. You can't really go back and save people. You can't really go back and sacrifice yourself back into the system to
Not
make sure
Project Pat. Don't save her. She don't want to be saved.
Yeah.
We had Al Green today. We had Project Pat. Seems like they had a lot of wisdom.
It's like you're trying to go in there and you're trying to place a bubble around this person, and when you place a bubble around this person, not only does your bubble get popped, but you get like stabbed with like the needle or whatever it is that they're using to make it explode. And I think that it's the emotional investment of being a scapegoat and having like this hyper empathy, because you have to have hyper empathy to not be like, I hate y'all, and just go ahead and blow up your stuff and leave. Yeah.
So I have two questions for you. Let me just ask you one first. And I'm sorry if I'm putting you on the spot. That's why I have a backup question.
We're back on our body.
I wonder, like, you have a tendency to not, what I was thinking about when we were talking about this is you have a tendency to not feel guilty.
Oh, I don't know if I have a tendency to not feel guilty. I think that I'm running through my guilt scripts a little bit quicker. And I think the reason I'm running through my guilt scripts a little bit quicker is, for me to cut someone off, they usually have to go through a gamut in my brain. Like, they have to do all the different things. And like, I can put up with a lot of not great stuff, and I can put up with it for a long time. But there's always something that happens with a narcissistic person or whoever I'm interacting with that's showing up toxically, where they show their hand, and they show their hand in such a grandiose way that when I make eye contact with them, I'm like, oh, I know. I can see that you're being a bad person. I can see that maybe you even are a bad person. And once I get to that point, I'm just kind of like, oh, there's actually nothing here. I've actually projected all these different qualities onto this person. I've made these experiences that I've had with them into good times when they weren't, because I was lonely. I needed a connection with someone. Like, I've done all these different things where I'm projecting essentially my stuff onto them. And that's not who they are as people. And one of the things that I also have to do once I reel back is I have to not only disconnect the way that I projected onto that person, but I also have to re-own my qualities.
This is what I was going to say. This is what's coming up. I was like, this is the thing that people seem to need to know is like, you were always the Riz. It was always you. It was always you, right?
Yeah.
And I'm thinking about even earlier, I don't know if y'all heard me because we'll have to go back and listen over it. But when I was saying about how like people of color, blacks, Asians, indigenous, Latino people, all have had these experiences of being scapegoated here in this country, right? And so when I think about that and I think about how often people have an attachment to place and safety, and trauma creates that, like you're taking it with you. And I think that this also plays out in relationships. And I think about how many times what's really coming up for me when you're saying this is when you when you will be working with people and you're trying to get them to leave a romantic partner. And they're like, the person is so great. And you looking at the person and you like, really? They're so great.
Where they at?
And the thing that I think often people don't understand is you were actually the magic. And when I'm actually thinking about everybody has different areas that it makes it that their strengths are in, right? And I just ask you why you don't fall for the guilt and conditioning. It's really interesting because for me, where I have an area of myself where I'm more secure, I will fall for the guilt and conditioning as far as like a job goes. Or sometimes even like if I'm in a relationship with someone, I will fall for guilt and conditioning as far as the people around them. But one of the things that I think that happened for me is that I have had positive experiences around my self-esteem. And I think it can be a protective factor. I don't tend to feel guilty when I'm leaving romantic partners. I can be like, I do not sit here and put somebody on a pedestal and be like, oh, they're so wonderful. Oh, they're so perfect. Oh, they're so great. I do have an ability when I'm in a romantic partnership to be like, oh no, it was me making this relationship great. But I think that I don't always do it when it comes to other things. You know, I'll think like, oh, like a job. I'll think, oh, this job was so great. Or, oh, this place that I've lived is so great. And it's like, no, I was actually the magic. I was actually the thing that was making the place great. I was actually making the thing enjoyable because I have a real ability to be creative and adaptive. And obviously, I can make fun and still continue to keep going, even when things are happening around me. But I'll get stuck in a lot of nostalgia. And now I'm thinking about how you talked about how like this system of, because really what we're talking about, all this stuff comes up for like me, what's coming up is systems of domination and power, right? Because family systems are the smaller system, but we live in a world that's based on power dynamics and hierarchies. And so I think it was really interesting because you said that the way we live here and that capitalism creates nostalgia.
Capitalism creates nostalgia.
And so that's what I'm really thinking about is like when you're trying to leave a system, when you're thinking about what does it take to leave without looking back. We've talked about this before. And again, these concepts all kind of like layer on each other. So we'll talk about the same things again and make connections with them again over and over. But it's like this idea that you have to go and you have to go ahead and re-own your positive qualities, right? Because if you leave, right, when I have left jobs and then I go and work on my own, it's still fun because I was the one that was making the fun. If you leave a relationship that's unhealthy, it's still going to be great because you were the one that was making it great. And I'm also thinking about that person that wrote the book that you read There's a book that's out right now. I don't know if y'all have heard about it, that it's called I'm Glad My Mom Is Dead. And it's really a horrible title. I
Jeanette
haven't read it
McCurdy.
yet. Yeah, it's been really hard for me to read it.
It's not a horrible title.
Yeah, you're right. It's a
It
good
makes
title.
sense. Yeah,
It's a good
yeah.
title, but it sounds like ouch. And
Uh-huh.
I think that that's part of it, is like, what is it like for me to go ahead and re-own my positive qualities in order for me to have a good and fulfilling life as I move forward? I have to stop looking back. I actually have to stay in myself, and I have to stay focused on my vision for the future of myself. And it really will freeze you, y'all. It's really like being a pillar of salt. There is a part of it, I do think that there is a part of it where you kind of like have to just double down on the willpower. And you have to understand that, hey, I can't keep on looking back at the system. I can't keep on looking back at this person, because if I do, I'm going to be so frozen by everything that's happened and everything that I'm losing and everything that I've had to give up. And the thing is, it's like the Wizard of Oz. The power was inside you all along, my
Wow.
dear. So that's what I have to say about it. I think that, I wonder, Ange, do you have anything else that you want to add, like things that have been helpful to you in keeping you from looking back?
Oh, I think that today was actually a great example of it, of all the chaos that was happening
Uh
and
huh.
the attention seeking behaviors, including from adults,
Uh huh.
that was happening just now. My initial response to it is also always a freeze response. And the reason that it's always a freeze response is because my anger is so intense when I get upset, because I have a lot of trauma built up,
Uh huh.
that if I actually let my anger be in full display, I'm probably going to jail. And no one wants that,
Uh huh.
right?
Uh huh.
So, like, what does it look like for you to be able to, while you're recording your podcast, for example, get back into the flow of the podcast and let go of whatever narcissistic behavior is going on around you? Because you can't control what other people are going to do. A lot of people, especially right now, are interacting in the world in very narcissistic ways. And like, what does it look like for you to be able to free yourself and to have the autonomy of being back into your body, and not allow them to like be a body snatcher essentially and like rob you of who you are? What does it mean for you to get back to you? What does it mean for you to remember what 3-year old you used to be like? That, like, plucky kid that was walking around just like being yourself before all these systems got to you. Because the thing about being in a narcissistic system, which is that like it's going to try to destroy you to keep you locked into it, because your function is to absorb all their shame.
Uh-huh. And do all the work too. You're supposed to do everything too. That's
Mm-hmm.
also, you're supposed to do all the work. Don't forget that part.
Mm-hmm. So let's see if this episode is too chaotic, and if not, we'll post it, and hopefully y'all like it.
All right. See you soon, guys.
Bye.
Bye bye.